Warming up?
Warming up. Yeah, we're just gonna share links as usual. Tag Toby in the post. When you accidentally, I'm gonna copy the link and then you end up saving the link and then it's trying to like save the whole web document.
Yeah, I don't see the. Yeah, I don't know if it's just a slow internet. Facebook is not there yet. YouTube, I
Should
see.
be. I tagged you now in the Facebook post.
YouTube is running. Facebook.
I think you have to refresh your window.
There. Now I see. Loading it. Karen has joined us. Hey, Karen.
Hello. Okay. Yep, I'm ready. I've shared. So yeah, it's gonna be, I guess, silly to some degree.
Excuse me. '86, '89, '87.
That's fun. I think it was fun.
And '86. Okay.
So yeah, today is about Takeshi's Castle. I'm kind of impressed at a show that really just ran for like 4 years. It's such a wide legacy.
Okay, it's 9:05. Do we start?
Oh wow! Sorry,
What?
there's little things on the Wikipedia. No. Okay, we'll talk about it, I guess, during the episode.
Well, I guess we can officially start, and then as people creep in, they'll comment and stuff.
Yep.
And this is Toby.
This is Rocky.
And if it's your first time here, welcome to Baduy Pride, a little space on the internet where we talk about anything we want.
It is completely unscripted and not entirely accurate, but at least it's honest. Join us as we talk about everything and anything random live.
And if it's not your first time here, thank you so much for joining us again. This is our 135th episode, and we are talking about a show from our childhood.
Yeah, Takeshi's Castle. And Andre is here. Hello, Andre. Yeah, so Toby, how do you remember Takeshi's Castle?
My earliest memories of Takeshi's Castle are vague snippets of the crazy games it had. And I remember that because I do recall also having a point wherein I go, oh, may Tagalog version na. Because the Philippine syndicate version wherein you had local talent then being part of the storyline, being present.
Okay.
I don't recall if the earlier one already had that, but I also don't recall that much. I just remember snippets of the of the games.
I mean, I remember deliberately trying to sit down to watch it
Mhm.
on Channel 13. And then, but for as long as I can remember, it always had uh, the Filipino host bits. And it was
Okay.
definitely in that period of time when my mastery of Filipino was terrible. So um, the whole thing felt like foreign language content to me. I mean, between the Japanese game segments and
Mhm.
the host in between, I could not relate to what was going on. I was just watching the challenges more than anything else.
Mhm.
So I guess we'll do our Wikipedia intro, but formally, um, the show ran from 1986 to 1990 on the Tokyo
Mhm.
Broadcasting System, and that time frame actually isn't even continuous
Yes.
episodes because
Mhm.
part of it were specials and stuff, sort of like
Mhm.
the end of Doctor Who or something, or the end of Adventure Time. Um, and it's fascinating because if you actually go to the Wikipedia article, it's really gotten around the world.
It had a huge following, and I cannot help but feel it was instrumental in shaping television in more ways than people give it credit for.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. I mean, just the bizarre
Image.
nature of the challenges and this whole concept of that they're storming the castle, but they're also trying to winnow down
Mhm.
the number of contestants to single digits um, every time is insane.
Mhm.
It's insane.
Instrumental in the show, well, for those who were able to see it with the narrative impact, is Takeshi Kitano, who's also known as Beat Takeshi, who I think many, at least among my circle of friends, know him more because of the movie Battle Royale.
Yeah, because he's the
He's the principal.
yeah,
who,
or the who do you think, coach,
yeah,
right?
the coach, who is that? He's the antagonist basically in that movie. But many remember him from there, and then others remember him from the other work he's done. But he was a prominent character in the show.
He was Takeshi.
Yeah.
He was the big boss that they were trying to defeat.
But if you look at other interpretations, like now on YouTube, you can see the UK version that was dubbed and highly edited. They pretty much removed him from most of the scenes.
Oh my god, wait. It says on the end of the Wikipedia article, the casting of Takeshi Kitano in Battle Royale was a reference to him being the host of Takeshi's Castle.
Oh, that makes sense.
It was deliberate that they really wanted to connect it. That's
Okay.
awesome. That's awesome.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, Andre is already citing like, was it a predecessor of Wipeout or Fall Guys? I mean,
Well, okay.
the internet is silent.
Yeah, but you have to consider the
Progression.
chain of inspirations, because you could say Fall Guys and the like come from shows like Wipeout and American Ninja. But shows like American Ninja and Wipeout are like late 2000 shows. And we're still talking about Takeshi's Castle, which was around
It's
even
late
before the
80s.
2000s.
Yeah, and then some would argue, but they probably, I mean, the American side probably maybe copied more American Gladiators, more
But even
than
that,
stuff. But even that may have taken some inspiration from the likes of Takeshi's
because
Castle.
it still also came in much later.
Yeah, yeah. American Gladiator was mid to late 90s, if I'm not mistaken.
1989 as well.
Oh my God, no, it's late 80s. Oh my God.
Mhm.
Okay, amazing, interesting. Okay, so the basic format of Takeshi's Castle is that you have like 100 people for some reason who are dressed up in costumes, who are all trying to join the general to storm Takeshi's Castle, and then uh, through a series of physical challenges, um, the number of people will winnow down and get
Mhm.
eliminated until you have a few who can survive to the final showdown, which would involve some sort of a vehicle shooting some sort of a gun, and getting to the end.
Because it sort of symbolizes they're attempting to raid the castle.
Yeah,
And
to
they're
defeat
attempting to
Takeshi.
defeat. Yeah.
But I think the show was notorious for um, just focusing on how people get eliminated in challenge after challenge. And in fact, it was a running gag that people barely make it to the end and
Mhm.
barely get a chance to defeat Takeshi.
Mhm.
For those who are super unfamiliar with the franchise, which is I am very sad for you, luckily versions of it or samples of the challenges can be found all over YouTube. The
Mhm.
most predominant seem to be specifically from the UK run of Takeshi's Castle, which it's kind of hit or miss because they condensed the show from its 1 hour format to like a 30-minute thing. And the host is very inappropriate. Very, very culturally insensitive,
Mhm.
very inappropriate, but it's
It's a product of
okay.
its time.
Yeah, it's a product of its time as well,
Mhm.
I'm sure.
There's a lot of statements that back then were humorous jests at the difference in culture, but nowadays we realize are very insensitive statements, or it's obvious you're making fun of them because they're a different culture
Yeah.
and not because it's a funny moment.
We were playing videos all throughout dinner just to like remember what the challenges are
Mhm.
and stuff, and I think we can that's a good segue. So like Toby, what are some of your favorite Takeshi challenges?
So the tricky part about the challenges is everyone who's seen the show will remember them in one form or another. But the names for each challenge, of course, changes depending on which versions you've seen.
Yeah.
The UK version, of course, love to name things in their own dry humor.
Yeah.
The Filipino syndication tried to be more accurate in the translations. But then the Philippine version also did add its own narrative. Because suddenly there were new characters based on Smokey Manaloto and Joey De Leon and other actors who showed up in it. And then some, like us earlier, will actually even make the mistake of mixing some memories with Mongolian barbecue,
That's me.
which
Because
was,
again, it all felt like foreign language content to me at the
and
time.
and it
Because also Channel 13.
it also had that Filipino humor of a lot of um, making fun of oneself and making
Yeah.
off colored comments about culture, which were common humor at the time. So, games.
My big question, sorry, as you get to it, and then as we jump into the games, but my big question now is that because we were looking at different like examples of syndication of Takeshi's Castle,
Hey, Kenny.
and then we were wondering, did they only syndicate the game, and like the actual original Takeshi narrative, was that not part of the deal? Do we not like get that story?
Well, let's ask Tube Guy because we've hit 10.
Hey,
Tube
it's been a while.
Guy. He loves doing this ever since he got the new batteries from. Yeah. So, thank you for reaching 10 viewers tonight. But going back, yeah, I think it's possible that the syndication was only that. Or it wasn't only that, but it was too much effort
To
to go through
translate.
translations and subtitling.
That's very likely.
Because if you even watch the UK dubbed versions that are available on YouTube,
They
there's
don't
no
care.
effort to connect to the ongoing Japanese voiceovers.
Yes.
You could hear them talking, but the announcer in English doesn't care, has his own spin on the jokes.
Yeah, he just pretends to understand.
He gives them his own spin on the story, which I think is again only because it's faster and cheaper to do it that way.
Well, Mitch shares that General Lee is also the guy from Masked Man. Yeah, he did look familiar. I didn't fully
Hey, Carlo.
appreciate that. Okay. Mitch says she liked crossing the river and stones. So I think like the UK version was the stepping stones.
It's called stepping stones in the UK version.
The
where they
room
run
doors, I'm
across.
assuming, is the hexagon maze.
So there's
there's many though.
So there's the start wherein it's the elimination of doors.
There's many people running,
But there's
through
the
doors.
maze that have the people inside.
That's the hexagon one.
And you have to hide in certain doors, but sometimes you'll end up with one that throws you into the water.
But then there's also the variation on the opening challenge of the many doors, but it's only one person.
At
so
a
that
time.
if you choose the wrong door,
You're
you're
out.
dead.
Mhm.
Because in the when it's the en masse version at the beginning of the episode,
There's the balls at the end.
No, but if you make a mistake with the door, you could still possibly
Yeah.
like
As
join
long
the
as
crowd.
as long as you
There's a
reach the
timer.
end,
Yeah,
as long
there's
as
a
you reach the
timer.
end and grab a ball, you're still in.
Yeah. Karen remembers the spinning mushroom.
Yeah,
Yes.
the flying kabuto, which I think was quite popular because of the fact that you see people hanging on for their dear life.
And there, like at the very beginning, it's not going well, and then once it starts spinning, it's chaos. Nigel says he loved the one with doors with two monsters. Yeah, so the hexagon maze. So Wikipedia now helps us know.
So the Wikipedia page shows in alphabetical order.
Yeah, all the challenges. But wait, the monsters, quote unquote, in the maze are
strong and
Shoji, Kinoshita. No, wrong. Here, ordinary. Oh my god, where'd it go? I had it earlier.
Honeycomb maze. Search honeycomb maze.
No, there.
Yeah, it's strong.
Shibaji, Tankobo, and Shoujo Strong Kobayashi.
Yeah, Strong is the bald guy.
Yeah, Strong is the bald guy.
And Kibaji is the one with the long hair.
With the very ornate red hair, which I realize is like a reference to a character.
So the honeycomb maze originally was just a square maze, but they later, of course, added the honeycomb to have things look more interesting.
Both Mitch and Karen cite the holes. The one where it's just like
you have
5 or 6 holes, and you just jump in
and hope for the best.
That's a towards the end of the game, and then you'll just hear a scream. There's a monster inside.
And then there was the infamous surfboard one, which was all about timing your jumps.
Yes.
The variations of that one, which the ones we saw earlier, were cruel. They were just wicked. And then there's the Velcro jump, which has been copied into so many shows, including local noontime shows.
Yeah, but oh my god. And the stupid detail of there's someone on the top, like waving, hey, save me.
And in theory, they can help you. They can grab you at the moment you hit the wall.
I was admittedly, the one with the stepping stone thing, that always scared me.
It always felt painful.
Because I know that somewhat padded, whatever, but thinking about it, that some are, once you misstep into the floating and then you slam straight into a legitimate solid stone. Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
That is terrible. And really, this is like, the Takeshi's Castle's enjoyment is really built on a lot of schadenfreude, in the sense that you really do celebrate the pain of some other person, and it's crazy. Karen does mention the hanging bridge where the player shot with balls. Yes, that one terrified me.
And that one was one of the games that in the local fairs, there was a version of it with the rope. There's that rope ladder.
Okay.
Which is, of course, a cheat, because rather than just having 2 ropes holding the ladder across the padded floor, it's just a single rope in the end. So it really will go off balance no matter how you try to cross it.
Oh my god!
But a lot would try to do it because it reminded them of Takeshi Castle. Yes, the show did have its injuries. I would not be surprised that it did not proceed to the modern day the way it was made. Because like now, if you look at a lot of the similar shows like Wipeout and American Ninja, it's all stressing fit people.
Yeah.
It's all stressing much more physically active people. I think the closest we have to non-physically active people, but in a similar show, is The Floor is Lava, which does have some level of obstacle course traveling, but it's not what's the word? It's not high tension. It's not you have to rush and do this and you'll crash into things. You can plan, you can be careful, you can be meticulous.
Okay. Mitchell asking about the price. Yeah, depending on the iteration of Takeshi's Castle. Apparently, the price before was like, as long as you defeated Takeshi's vehicle, there was a prize that was divided among all the survivors. But there is another that there was a bonus for the person who actually shot the vehicle. And this is like what we see in the Wikipedia. I will share. I'll try to share a link. Well, it's gonna go to the YouTube version. But I found this video like last year of a guy who found a winner of Takeshi's Castle. So it's a YouTube person who decided to search to see if he could find a winner of Takeshi's Castle, and Oh, I can share it also on Facebook. But yeah, you guys can check that out later. It's amazing. He really put a lot of effort to track down a winner, and there was a winner. Okay. Um, yeah, Nice is the closest non-athletic people have now is Fall Guys. I think that's true in the sense that it's a lot safer to do it digitally. We don't have a copy of Fall Guys, but I mean, I get I get the association.
Well, the idea now of I guess variety shows that involve stunts and contests is very common. What Takeshi's Castle, I'd like to think, contributed to the zeitgeist as far as the entertainment industry is concerned is that you can literally have a show where it's all that. Because
Yeah,
um, in as much as Takeshi's Castle did have skits, the fact that there were versions of the show syndicated to remove them and the show was still popular.
and the show still works.
Yeah, really, brought that into the mindset that, okay, maybe we can have shows that's all about the stunts or all about the competitions.
All about people being made to do stupid things.
Because if you look back, most of the game shows that existed back then were all about smarts.
There was a lot of like mental stuff, Jeopardy,
And
Wheel of
if ever
Fortune.
not smarts, luck.
Okay.
So Wheel of Fortune, I was about to say 1 2 3 stop. No, that's a
$100,000 pyramid.
yeah, the no whammies, no whammies, stop. Anyway, but then around the era of Takeshi's Castle, you then have later shows which I'd like to think were influenced by it to some degree, such as Nickelodeon started to do Double Dare, Finders Keepers, which all started to become about stunts.
So okay, but on a side note, then we must ask the question. So if we had adults doing these physical challenges
Mhm.
in Japan, but then when it got translated to the US, like let's make our own, let's make kids do it. Like only children would do these ridiculous things. But then a few generations later, only performance athletes will do American Ninja Warrior and the like.
Culturally, we can think of how in America there was this idealized version of how a person should act, which Japan being Japan, in as much as many talk about Japan having all these cultural people are meek and all this and that and tradition, the fact is everyday people would do the craziest things. And Japan was one of those places where creativity soared in the furthest extremes. You know? When you come to television in the States, there were a lot of influences that you can't do certain things, and even the Mr. Rogers documentary talked about that, how something as simple as having colored people in the same moment as the white people on screen
At the
such
time,
a huge
it
issue.
was controversial.
Diba? And yet here we have Takeshi's Castle, you have foreign guests, you have locals, and you have women and men sumo wrestling. It was all no holds barred. It was just all for fun. And yes, there were injuries, but they still all knew it was part of the fun. So it was that different a culture when it came to TV.
Carlos shares trivia that supposedly contestants didn't have to go through all the challenges. You have to go through a few, and others will be selected for others. I would not be surprised because I feel like some people just literally get injured too early. We were just watching earlier the stupid one on the hill, and they're in the giant ball people thing, and it's basically just stop go because you have the guy counting, and every time he turns, people can't move. I love it. I love it.
And I would not be surprised if you can opt out of the challenges because you never see people opt out in the show itself. So these, I think, are things they did behind the scenes. Like, okay, this is the challenge. Who's willing to do this? And then those who are willing, okay, go in. Okay, next challenge. Who's willing to do this? And if
maybe you get points for challenges you survive or something, or maybe you have to survive X number of challenges, so you have to choose. I don't know, something like that. A lot of people are talking about Crystal Maze. Oh my god, I feel like Crystal Maze is a whole different thing, and that deserves an episode. That
yes,
like if I love the Crystal Maze, and it was super freaky when you see Richard O'Brien later on appear in Dark City, And then you go back further and like, wait, he was involved in Rocky Horror Picture Show. How did that work? So things like that. A lot of people talk about Legend of the Hidden Temple. So yeah, that's like later generation Nickelodeon action games, which I feel like those died out when Nickelodeon had to close down Nickelodeon Studios in Florida, because that's where a lot of these game shows for Nickelodeon used to be hosted. This is my random theme park trivia lore. But then when they gave that up, a lot of the shows kind of went with it.
So
then,
yeah, Crystal Maze is dated 1990. So Takeshi's Castle still has
it's still
4
older.
years.
It's
4 years
still
way behind
older.
that.
My gosh.
What was the other one?
Huh?
Legend.
Legends of the Hidden Temple. Oh, that's like 2000.
Okay.
Right. That's Nickelodeon also.
Yeah,
See?
that's 2016.
No, that's the movie.
Oh.
But it was 93 to
93.
95. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Not that bad. But yeah. So my gosh. Okay. So we know we've never specifically answered what our favorite games are.
Mhm.
I mean, I definitely like the maze. I always love the maze
Mhm.
because it looks so simple from above, but then you have no idea how they're gonna get through it.
Having played the giant maze that is, I think it was Boom na Boom.
Oh my
Or was it
gosh.
Big Bang Salabang? I forget which
Or
one.
Payanig
No,
sa Pasig.
Sorry. Big Bang Salabang had the giant slide,
Okay.
right?
I don't know. I didn't go to Alabang. It's too far.
I think Payanig sa Pasig.
That was still also kind of far from me, but it was possible. We went once.
I think that was the one with the maze. Oh no, I can't remember which one was which.
Or was it Boom na Boom? But it wasn't Star
Ah.
City. Because Star City is always Star City and Boom na Boom always had very different.
Star
like,
City had the penguins.
the ice arrangement.
Okay.
Yeah. Because they had the fixed structure.
So one of them had the giant maze, and I remember I went there because I wanted to experience something like Takeshi's Castle, and I remember freaking out because I kept thinking that someone would show up in the maze to terrify me.
You will encounter a strong.
Yeah, exactly. And the giant maze did not have doors. It was just, a literal maze. But oh my god, it had portions where there would be towers, so you could go up to try to get a glimpse of where to go. Yeah, okay. Karen shares, I think sa Payanig siya.
I love, but man, the maze with the doors, it's just crazy because I think more than just navigating the doors was watching the two monster characters move also through, and then you can see them like push a door just to like
make sound.
But at the same time, you also see contestants pushing doors to try to attract the monsters.
And the fact that it was a hexagon shape.
Well, the later one, yeah,
meant this door could be pushed, but they could still go here. That still leads in that direction.
And I've seen cases where they push the door, but because another door is open, and then it just all clogs up. Oh my god, I love the maze. I super love the maze. But yeah, terrified by the bridge and the stepping stones. That one, I always felt like, oh my god, these people are gonna get hurt.
I always found the thing that was popular in Wipeout, those wheels that you had to traverse, as scary. I always felt they were breaking their backs whenever they hit those.
Oh yeah, because then you really see them like
I love the one that looked like a side scroller, the one that looked like a Mario stage.
Yeah, we were seeing a lot of this on the UK version. Like,
That
oh my
was
god,
always
that side scroll adventure is amazing.
And then I always worried for the pole vault because I felt like that was
it was a challenge.
It was a good challenge. It wasn't even a normal pole vault. It would come from somewhere up high.
Yeah.
And then the area you fall into isn't really water. It's like just muddy water. So I don't really know how it doesn't hurt when you land on that thing.
Oh, Nigel cites the bowling one. I love the bowling one. Because it's really luck or something. It's like what can you really do? You like your center of gravity is way off. You're stuck in this giant foam bowling pin. You can't move your legs well. They're cramped together in the thing. And it's you're just meant to fail, and I love it.
So Karen shares when they catch players, they smear some kind of mud-like substance.
Yeah, they grease the players up with black,
which was I guess humorous nod to the humorous slapstick nature of the show we're in.
Oh, I love the one where they're like, which is normally a round one type activity, where they're wearing giant foam hands, and then the leader will flash a card, and then they have to find the matching card, and then you'll just see them plop on
Yeah,
it,
they'll run and then plop.
and then they'll just only the first one gets through.
Everyone else
But
plops on top of
everybody
it.
keeps plopping anyway. And I've seen cases where they made the mistake.
And
Like
they
the first
plopped the
one
wrong
was
one.
wrong, and then the other one starts running
And then
around. I love that.
which one was the other one? The earthquake room is always fun.
Oh, where they're supposed to sit on very
Mhm.
tall pillow beanbag things and like be calm.
And not fall off, but they can't use their hands supposedly by
Yeah.
the rule.
Mitch says, "Is there a sumo wrestling fight?"
Yeah.
Yes, and that's the one where you draw a ball out of it, and
To
it
find out
tells
who
you
you'll fight.
who you'll wrestle.
Mhm.
And then a lot of times you will get surprised by the skinny guy because he's actually quite flexible and versatile, and he's knocked a lot of people out.
Mhm.
And then I've seen a few episodes on YouTube where suddenly an actual sumo wrestler comes out. Oh my god. Oh, Karen's like the one where they tried to climb the castle and throw the rocks. Yes.
Yes, that's
Yes.
cool.
Carla earlier mentioned the rock that was like down that alley.
The giant rock.
Yeah, which is like very Indiana Jones,
Mm.
but then I love it. Then your only escape was to try to like hide in these little
Alcove.
alcoves or to just be skinny. We keep seeing skinny people like just press against the wall and the boulder bounces right past them. So, oh my god, guys, there is a Wikipedia article that tries to document as many of the games as possible, and it has diagrams. It doesn't have diagrams for all the games, but it has diagrams for a number of them.
So it's called show of hands.
Oh, that's the
Where everyone's a hand,
And then-
and then the teacher will give a question, and then they all rush to the answer. And
I love that one. I think I just love the giant foam prop. So hence even the opening one where they're like running through the doors, and then you'll see that big guy in very big samurai armor who was kind of scary, but he was like the most awesome thing. I kept imagining him as a robot. Yeah, Carla's like, one where your people would rush through the walls and you hope that it has a hole in it. A hole and no net. So
Mm.
apparently there's some of them have nets and it's just crazy. What else? What else? We're looking at we have the Wikipedia
Mhm.
article up of the different games. And then there was always that concern about the muddiness of these challenges. Like they really get people dirty.
Mm.
And then before, I used to wonder like the sense of continuity. But you will see some players by the time they get to the end are very muddy,
Mhm.
or at least have very soiled clothes
Yes.
when they're trying to attack.
And
Takeshi's
you'll
castle.
always notice that the ultimate battle was at night, or really
Yes.
close to night, because ours have passed since the start of the show.
Yes. And even you'll see some of those challenges, like depending on the sequencing, it's afternoon lighting, but then towards the end, it's really dark. Especially, I worry for the people who have to do that bridge challenge with the balls.
Mhm.
And then a number of them, it becomes evening, and like, oh my god, how are they going to see anything? Nigel says the show of hands is based on a Japanese card game, but gigantified. It's very likely. It's only in this UK one on TV that we started to see that there's this karaoke challenge where the contestants are made to sing for like these mobsters, and they don't know the song necessarily. So there's no prep and there's no lyrics to follow along,
Mhm.
and it's so arbitrary because they just judge whether or not it was a good performance. You might get away with not knowing the words if you put on a show, which is, hey, that's karaoke.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of, are there anything else that I particularly like? I mean, okay, a lot of people love the holes one, which I think is like indicative of the season that we got in the Philippines, where that was almost always the final elimination, and it always gave that sense of continuity because you jump into the hole, and then for the final battle, you come out of
Yes.
this like pot in the ground, which in hindsight looks like Rita Repulsa's prison from the Power Rangers. But yeah.
So the show had its share of different guests throughout the years. Among them, Ultraman has appeared in some of the.
That's what I was laughing about at the
specials.
beginning of the episode. Like, oh my god, the Wikipedia article says Ultraman has been on the
Mhm.
show more than once. And there was a parent and child
Mhm.
episode that terrifies me that they had children on the show.
They had a number of athletes in the show. Among the prominent ones was the baseball star,
Animal, but apparently he was an American baseball player. But he was like a
Brad
regular.
Leslie.
He was a regular monster, quote unquote, in the game.
Mhm.
And man, they got him to wear everything. I mean, just looking at the YouTube videos, I've seen him in a sumo outfit. I've seen him dressed like a samurai.
And then,
all
of
these
course,
things.
there are vague memories of the time when Takeshi was replaced by the doll. Because
Yeah,
supposedly there were these reasons he could
controversies.
not be on TV.
And
So
Takeshi had a doll,
only the doll
like a
can be there.
mannequin that had to be on. It's on the wiki, and like, and it's funny because the doll is the second character listed. I guess because he represented Takeshi, therefore it is they are ranked by hierarchy. I suppose I can only guess. There's even citations to like the quote unquote reporters that were all wearing safari uniforms.
Mm.
And really, so many aspects of the show just make you ask the question, why? Why were they dressed in safari outfits? You know, even if it's snowing, they're in safari outfits.
Mhm.
Why was there a man cross-dressing as a Native American woman on the surfing themed challenge with the with the surfboard and the whales? Why? Why? Your only answer is because it's Japan.
Mhm.
And it's worse, it's Japan in the 80s.
It's Japan celebrating different pop cultural nods all in one thing. We know Japan has always had this thing for baseball. It's such a huge sport for them.
Yes.
So to have
An American baseball
in
player.
the show was amazing. And then they'd have, of course, all these other nods to different characters and cultures present. Um, Mitch shares that game to cross a bridge, hanging plank, then may ball na binabato. Bear in mind, Mitch, you have to first catch the golden ball.
You have to catch your ball.
And then you have to cross, avoiding all the other balls while still holding that ball.
I swear, just watching, as we were watching over dinner, just seeing that bridge again. Oh my god, I cannot imagine doing Takeshi's Castle challenges. That's crazy. That brings us to my side question of why did they dress up in costumes?
Mhm.
What were the contestants thinking that hey, this is a great way to show up for a game?
I would not be surprised if the earlier seasons didn't really have that yet.
Yeah, yeah.
And then maybe some started to decorate their
Helmet,
headgear
yeah.
or start to wear specific shirts in reference to, this is me, look, you can see me. And then, of course, it just progresses from
It
there.
just gets crazy, and you'll see them with props and like pseudo samurai. You have bathhouse like attendants. You have so it's what are these people doing, and how are they not like helpful? Well, Mitch is like maybe they make it easier to spot them on the camera. That's a good point. Like
Because there are tons of them in the show.
you wanna tell your family, hey, I was on Takeshi's Castle. You see, that's me. And then, of course, it's sad also that so many people show up in business suits. And I know that's probably the only other creative outfit they have.
It wasn't really a costume.
Yun nga, it's like the only
Maybe they really showed up.
non-traditional outfit.
Or maybe they really showed up because they came from work.
Or they pretended to go to work.
This is Japan, after all.
That's fair.
Where the work ethic was also huge. Oh my gosh, there's the Spider-Man guy. Superman guy.
Skinny Superman.
Cosplay. Actually, I was wondering how or if there was any connection or correlation to cosplay.
Because it was a lot of uniform style costumes.
And
it wasn't characters.
And I don't know
very
enough
rarely
about
characters.
cosplay to know if cosplay was already a thing.
Yeah, was it extant in the late 80s?
Yeah.
Would you already call that cosplay? Or would it just be people being Japanese?
Yeah, was it just people dressing up for the show because it would look funny in the show?
Or like, will the outfit help me win? And you'll have some really scantily clad people like already in a sumo outfit. And like, really, guy? This is how you're gonna go into the challenge? Have you seen how much mud is on this show?
Which again makes you think they have a choice on the challenge they will accept.
Maybe.
So some of them, like there was that one guy who showed up in a scuba gear because he was going to do the skipping stones. Obviously, he's going to be disqualified.
But he swam.
He wanted
the
to do that
skipping
moment.
stones.
So
he swam it.
There were some wherein it was a sea themed challenge, and they were wearing something that had fish or stuff like that. So
what's this one? The one with the hide and seek one.
the one where you can't move.
Yeah, Toby's looking it up. He has the list. I'll load it also. Super checking. Blueberry Hill.
You found it?
Contestants have to make their way up a ramp but are only allowed to move when the guard at the top
Mm.
isn't looking. This may hard, but the giant Daruma costumes they are wearing
Yes.
when the guard is facing the other way, chant Daruma san ga karonda, meaning Daruma fell down. This lets the contestant know how much time they have to move and when they should stop. As soon as the guard finishes the chant, he turns around. Anyone he catches moving will be pushed down the hill and are out of the game. Any contestant that manages to get all the way to the goal at the top of the hill without being spotted moving wins. Once the game was played downhill, so there was a risk of toppling forwards. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we caught one in one of the specials on YouTube where they were in the snow.
Yeah. And then there's a
That's
version
scary.
of that called Cheesy Berry Hill, wherein they're dressed as potatoes this time.
I love it when they're dressed up as things.
And then the mushroom one, the mushroom trip, has a version that's corn. So you grab hold onto a giant corn cob.
Oh my god, that's horrible. That sounds horrible. But yeah, so there's one which is we see a lot of, which is called the Gauntlet, which is you are in a side-scrolling video game and you have to get to the end before this pink mushroom gets to the end, and it's I love it every time I see it on YouTube. It's brilliant, and in all honesty, this is not the first time we found ourselves watching Takeshi's Castle videos on
That's
YouTube.
true.
Every now and then, I feel like watching Takeshi's Castle, and then we just load it up.
So one of the family games was the Brat Sack.
Hmm.
Children are tied up inside bags with only their arms sticking out.
Oh my
Parents then have to choose bags, and if they think they have their child, carry it to the finish line. Then they open to find out. Oh my god!
God! Such an inappropriate game. Did you just rescue your child or did you kidnap someone? Ah,
And
Oh
then
my
there's
God.
Big Bird. Dressed as a bird, a contestant is pulled along a wire in the air towards the platform opposite of the one they start on. Halfway onto their journey is a big rabbit. They have to try and pick up the rabbit with their feet and hold on to it until they reach the nest. When they reach the nest, they must drop the rabbit in.
For amusement, you can load the article and I just search for the word dressed because I want to see all the events where they're in costumes. Like one being roller derby. 6 contestants play at a time. All of them are dressed as horses wearing roller skates. When the general fires the pistol, they must skate from the starting block and race to the finish at the end of the road. The first 2 contestants to reach the finish line wins. The other 4 are eliminated. Later editions have hurdles and they're in roller skates. Oh, Carlos, rice bowl downhill is fun. Yeah, I saw a couple of that. That you're riding in a rice
That
cup.
scared me. That always felt like an accident.
It looks like you
happen.
could break a neck. And then there's so many of these hill-based challenges where you see them no longer wearing their safety helmets at the end, where it gets knocked out before it gets there. Yeah, Mitch, like the price seems to be about 1 million yen, which is I don't know if that's enough. I don't know. I don't know if it's enough.
Well, given the time period, it probably was.
Yeah. No, but even then, it translates to like $8,000 or something. It's like it's not a super big price,
Yeah, but
but it's a
$8,000
good amount of money.
in the early 90s.
Yeah, yeah, and
I think that's pretty
it's
big.
you know,
But we are
Japanese
talking about
economic power.
There was a time when game shows would give out 500 to 1,000 pesos, and that was huge.
No. Okay. Yeah. Oh, and there's like the whale bikes costume. And
The
all
whale
those,
bikes were terrible because you can't really steer them that well. You can only steer them by by leaning
Yeah, and
because
you
you can't
needed
turn the wheel.
and the road is like super narrow.
Mm.
Oh my god. Oh my god. So I mean, there's no shortage of things. And then yeah,
Okay,
so
there's the statistics on injuries.
yeah, I'm loading. I'm trying to load the Quora article. Uh, wow,
Yes, there's a lot of
broken ribs
injuries.
41, broken jaws 19, bruised chin
Mm.
312, bruised shins 282, knocked out 9, concussion 34, winded 276, fractured
Yes.
skull 2, black eye 112, torn muscles 62. Oh my god.
Because a lot of them really are huge impact moments. So
And then a lot of people kind of like fall in a manner that obviously the game was not designed for or
Mhm.
did not anticipate. There's a lot of rebounding going on and how the
but of
game
course
progresses.
legal waivers and all that. Which is why we have come to the modern day wherein we have games like The Floor is Lava, where um, clearly things are padded to a huge extent.
And it's not
Um,
the water is barely deep. It's not as dangerous as you think. But they every time a player gets eliminated from the floor is lava, they super have to go. Ah, I'm dying now.
they try not to showcase the actual fall that might have an injury. They tend to cover
Yeah.
it up with
And that
a
just reflects these modern times
Mhm.
where we're more concerned about like lawsuits and accountability, which I guess is and this is American TV we're talking about, where they're
Mhm.
super careful about things, which is funny to say.
Mhm.
But man,
Yeah,
Takeshi's Castle.
Carlos shares. I doubt safety was a priority. I doubt safety was a priority in a large part of most of the shows during that era. I mean,
Yeah,
even
or
shows,
our definition of safety, which is very
yeah,
different then.
because even shows like Double Dare or Finders Keepers, during those kid shows, you still did have things crashing onto them or them falling off ramps and stuff. And in
In
as much
Finders
as it's,
Keepers, I always wondered, could they fall forward? Or was it like a plexiglass thing? I can't
I
remember.
think there was a plexiglass because I remember there would be stuff that would be hitting that wall.
Oh, that's true.
But you are still talking about people rushing through a two-story house,
Yes.
and sometimes some of them would trip on the staircase. And um, one can say common sense will tell you that a game that will have you rushing up steps is not a game you should have for kids. But again, given that era, there is that semblance of us being a bit more invulnerable than we thought we were.
Hmm.
Um, Double Dare had its physical challenges, which included throwing and catching stuff on your head and stuff like that, which could lead to a lot of neck injuries and the like as well. Not to
And a lot
mention,
of like dangerously slippery surfaces.
yes,
Going up slides smeared with
Mhm.
ice cream and stuff.
So um, definitely the danger is there. I'd like to think that for that time, precautions were maintained to the best of what was known to be best done.
Yeah, at the time.
And of course, now we have better understanding of certain things. But even now, we still have precautionary measures implemented or demanded in questionable motives, like car seats in a certain height range. But we will not discuss that in detail. The point is, I think ultimately we learn to do better through the mistakes we have done in the past. And I would like to see a new incarnation of Takeshi's Castle. I would love to see more elements of escape rooms and the like, similar to what Crystal Maze has been doing in those shows. I would love to still see physical challenges. Maybe less the wipeout, smash into painful things because you're rushing, but more the video game side scroller. Which, while yes, you could still bump into things and fall into
But it was
things,
like a very specific challenge to get through.
and you were kind of pacing yourself.
Yeah.
Because like stuff like the skipping stones, wherein it's a blind run and hope for the best.
That's
I don't think we should have games like that anymore. Yeah. What else? I'd love to see more new media translations of these experiences. So,
new media, so like YouTube and stuff.
so you have Fall Guys, for example, as mentioned, which is an amazing, fun game. Um, Even if you've never seen the show, the idea that you could be on this obstacle course and try to go through it as fast as you can. There's even hyper casual mobile games that have a similar idea, but it's basically all you control is how if you're moving or if you stop. But then you have all these obstacles in a loop, so you'll have to try to get there before others get there, and stuff like that. It's always interesting to see these type of games out there.
I now have Mitch also wanting to play the hand game.
Mhm.
Mitch want to be in a giant hand, and then we'll go Happy Salmon. This is me. This is me doing
And
the Happy Salmon.
I could even dare say that there are team building activities that have drawn inspiration from Takeshi's Castle activities. You have those team building efforts of, getting a person across this web. So you have to lift them and all this and that, or as a team carrying a bucket of water across a large area, but then there's no container, so you have to use your hands and stuff. So they're not necessarily the same, but they have the same. They're fun because they're messy. They're fun because of how people will do it wrong. But then it also becomes a learning experience of working together and finding ways to.
Nigel and a few others have cited Running Man repeatedly as like sort of what we have in the modern day, and we haven't had a chance to watch it only because it's not on any of the streaming platforms we have at present. However, we are big fans of Busted, which I also want to watch. We still haven't finished the new season. We've only watched like 2 episodes because those episodes are long, guys. But I feel like, especially this new season of Busted, the variety side is very light versus the previous one because they're really pushing the story.
Yes.
Which is not terrible.
The previous ones, though, had huge sets.
Yeah,
amazing sets.
And really complicated water-based whatever challenges. And oh my god.
And then if you like shows like that, but you also still like the more cerebral nature of things, Genius is always a good one also to check out.
Yeah.
So it's less about the physical challenges
and just more about the whole elimination games and whatnot.
Outthinking your opponents, strategizing and stuff. It's pretty good. What else? So we have The Floor is Lava. We have Genius, Busted, Running Man. We have the old shows. Crystal Maze had a special where it tried to say hello again. What else?
I love the Crystal Maze.
I guess that's pretty much it.
I will take mystery as my category. Yeah, Busted's basically Running Man with an overarching story. Yeah, and that story is like, because it's several seasons in, has to take more prominence. But I'm super into it. We super enjoy it. I know Mitch already submitted Busted in the episode request queue, so we will get around to talking about it.
These are shows that we're afraid to really talk about because we will not say the names. Right?
Oh yeah, we're just gonna be like
not
that guy and the girl who's kind of pretty, and the girl who's like always the one figuring
the
out
guy with
stuff.
the backpack and camera,
the camera guy. The guy in the Sherlock Holmes hat who never knows what he's doing.
The dumb guy.
The dumb guy who is different from the guy in the Sherlock hat doesn't know what he's doing.
And then the pretty guy who gets scared often.
Oh, yeah. See, that's how we tag these characters. It's like when we watch Terrace House and like we don't super always know their name. We don't keep track very well.
But we do recognize them.
Yeah,
appear in other shows.
But then it's like, hey, it's that guy from Terrace House.
Or like that girl who has that game show where she gets wrapped up like a mummy.
Yes! Oh my god, Tori-chan, what were you doing? Oh my god, Karen, yes, you need to watch Busted. It's fun.
And Karen,
and it's on Netflix.
There will be that initial feeling of annoyance that, oh my god, Sherlock, and they're doing it this way. Don't get hung up on that. Just let go, let them do it, and you'll realize
just enjoy.
It becomes funny,
the quirkiness,
because they're, I guess to put it bluntly, they're trying to tell the story, but they're breaking out of character.
Yeah,
and that's what makes the show so charming.
It's like it's a long running SNL sketch with games.
Or it even feels like a role playing game with friends, and you're all trying
Yeah.
to stay in character, but you have moments wherein you just can't help it.
Mitch says she will be happy to send us a guide on how to say Korean
Or
names.
we
Or
have
be a
Mitch
guest.
be the guest.
Yeah, we should have Mitch for a busted Running Man episode, I think. Right?
That sounds good.
Right? Because we don't have enough exposure to Running Man. You are the one who always tells us that we have to watch Running Man, and we haven't gotten around to it. I know we should just find the services that have it and stuff. But
So,
one thing at a time.
I guess as we wrap up this episode, did you ever try to do Takeshi Castle
No.
experiences?
No. I know you're going to go, no. I was a very safe child. I was already getting to accidents while being safe, so I was a very well-behaved, safe child.
We were not.
I know. You have so many stories about this.
We tried to create our own slime.
Okay.
It was probably not the safest creations, but we had fun making, baldes and batchas filled with these
Oh my
homemade
God.
slime. And then we would hide stuff in it, so you'd have to dig to find it, which is basically double dare type of experiences. Or in the garden, in the basketball court area,
I'm scared.
we'd have the slime there, so you'd have to slide after running down the hill and stuff like that. We used to have this light ace. So part of the obstacle would be to climb to the top of the light ace, because then while you're up there, we're throwing balls at you as you try to reach for the flag on the basketball court ring.
Wow, Mitch shares she also tried riding a toy car or trike and having the paper target and water gun.
Yes, because you have to hit it. We did that with a sidecar. So we had a bike. My sister would be sitting on the sidecar with a water gun. We'd have targets, and then I'd bike around the cars, and she's trying to hit them, and yeah. And then my brother would be throwing powder at us and stuff. So we had our share of
Wow.
obstacle course
Okay,
experiences.
that's awesome. I mean, like, I'm sure my sister would have been game, but then I was just not. I was just very, very careful.
We also
Very,
had our share of
very
injuries.
Oh, see, that's where I have very few to talk about.
And one of my
I've never had stitches done. I've never been hospitalized.
one of my less non-injury but hilarious moment was jumping off the light ace. But the light ace has this ladder in the back.
Okay,
Now the ladder has if this were the arms of the ladder, so you have the thing there,
the rungs.
the rungs. You have the two parts that stretch outwards,
Okay.
because if you were climbing up, you can grab them.
Okay.
So when I jumped, my shorts slipped in. My shorts are not strong enough to carry me,
Of course.
so they ripped, but slowed my descent enough. So by the time I landed in a perfect hero landing, I was naked. Childhood was awesome.
Okay. Carlos says he tried the mushroom. It wasn't moving, but he held on for dear life. Was this just
Oh,
some giant mushroom
Maybe
somewhere?
was that the team building area? Because there was that team building place we went to in our former company that did have an obstacle course.
Okay.
They had the hanging staircase. They had stuff you should swing across, and then there was a net at the bottom in case you fall.
Okay.
I remember I had no sleep the previous nights, and that was the team building where I forgot to bring a shirt.
Mm,
I stupidly, accidentally forgot to pack an extra
extra shirt.
clothes. I had shorts, I had underwear, I had no shirts. So for the rest of the team building, I was shirtless. But that was after the team building activity. So I was zonked out. Everyone was having a great time. And then by the time I woke up, it was already time for lunch, and no one was there anymore. So I wasn't able to try. Sad.
Okay. Next here is Dero. There's a few clips of the show on YouTube. Okay, we'll try to
Oh,
look
we'll
it
look
up.
that up.
We'll look it up. But yeah, and it's that you. But I kind of miss like.
Physical activity.
No, I miss the. Okay, I have a lot of physical activity, but I miss the scale of Takeshi's Castle.
Yes.
And like you don't see shows like that anymore.
Mhm.
And I mean,
Some reality shows sort of still have it, in the sense that they do try to make a setup for the challenge for that.
Yeah, when they travel and
So
stuff.
like the pack, which is an amazing show that you guys should
The
see.
pack is great. It's on Prime Video.
It did have also similar setups, but they're not.
Nothing at the scale of
Yes.
Takeshi's Castle, where it wasn't just a one-time thing. They had to make repeatable obstacles that could be reset quickly
Mhm.
between players. That's crazy.
And the reset wasn't.
It
what's
wasn't
the
a
word?
clean reset.
And it wasn't cheap either. Because,
Yeah.
like, for example, the ones where you run through the doorway, the new ones would still have the designs.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like they were just putting paper back up there. There were different.
They had printed a lot of
design.
extra doors.
Yeah.
And things like that. So that's like consideration, right? And then we saw this one where they're running across snowman heads,
Mhm.
and some of the snowman heads are not connected, so they roll off. Then between players,
They'll
it gets
have to reset.
and all the faces are facing the camera
Yeah.
again.
Karen also shares, and they're not funny when
The
others
new ones.
do it.
Oh, and think about all those Takeshi's things where they have giant boulders rolling down a hill.
They'll have to roll.
Then
those
someone
up.
has to bring them back up, because I'm sure there is a finite number of paper mache boulders, to go around.
And even if that was paper mache, one that would still need a chicken wire core for the structure.
Yeah,
And two, that much paper is still heavy.
that's gonna hurt. And
That's at
it's
least
great.
3 reams worth of paper. to
And that's
create
what you
thing.
kept seeing. You'd see, like, especially when they get hit by the boulders, really get like they roll with the boulder. It's obviously a product of its time. It amazes me that, if you take a look at the Wikipedia page, guys, see how many countries were exposed to Takeshi's Castle. And it's not all in the 80s. Some of the syndication happened well
Yes.
into the 2000s. So, like, just listening to this UK one that's on YouTube, they're already citing things like Harry Potter.
Mhm.
And, like, oh, you have to get your golden snitch. And, like, wait a minute. This was already a Harry Potter era show. So that says a lot.
Mhm.
That says a lot of the longevity and how it has continued to spread.
And then it's also interesting how the syndication got syndicated. So, for example, Takeshi's Castle, which we keep calling it Takeshi's Castle because that's the Filipino name we are so accustomed to, is known as the 100 Wars with the Taiwanese release.
Okay.
And that release was the thing that was syndicated to certain other countries. So they don't know it as Takeshi's Castle, but they all know it as a variation of 100 Wars.
See, it's weird. It's crazy. But in the end, I guess because the show speaks on such a universal level that it's just freaking entertaining, as it is, even though you have no idea what's going on, you will never get answers to why this person is dressed as a baseball player or why this one is carrying around Arnie sticks, and why they are riding tiny tricycles on an obstacle course. But that's Takeshi's Castle, and it's amazing. And I think the only game I really wanted to play was the final showdown with the
Now,
water guns or lasers or whatnot.
now supposedly Takeshi's Castle rebooted. Supposedly has a second revived series that's still listed as present. So as to whether these are new episodes that they're being shown, we don't know.
Or it's the same old episodes with new supporting story around it, which
but
what we've
it's
seen a
listed
few.
as second revived series October 2017 to present. See, and then there's Comedy Central 2017 to present. So you gotta realize that out there are people still celebrating and getting introduced to the show.
Oh, see there, it's the Comedy Century revival used footage from the Thailand series
Mhm.
and later the Indonesian one. Oh, so they've just been using other countries' versions.
And they even call it different. So the US has it as MXC or Most Extreme Elimination Challenge.
Oh my god, that's a terrible name.
The other one is Storm the Castle, which was an attempt to Americanize the format. So yeah, it's interesting how this show has so much life. And it's understandable that there is no new incarnation that is as grand a scale, because, well, one can say the Flores Lava attempted to have a huge scale.
No, but it's the same freaking room.
Exactly.
It's the same room that's
if your
redressed.
if your eyes are, perceptive enough, you'll notice it's just the same room and things have been moved around.
They
But
just have different
but it
themes.
does try to have that. Look, it's big.
But it's not Takeshi's castle big. It's not having three people in a giant snake costume trying to attack a girl with a water gun down a hill. Not that big. Not giant boulders going down an alley at you, Indiana Jones style. Never that big again. And just the final showdown with those awesome Dodgem cars that, which now in hindsight make me think of like when you could ride around in like that car that has a bear head or something in the SM food court. They used to have those things that you could go around a little.
Or even the action rides in amusement parks. Remember the Buzz Lightyear one did have a laser gun as well to shoot the decor
Those
around
interactive attractions.
Yeah.
Yes. Buzz Lightyear's Astro Blasters.
Yeah.
More theme park history for today. Oh my god, I mean just like in that level of mud. Yes, that's a lot of mud. That's a lot of mud they had to maintain.
Which again, I think is why Nickelodeon had slime.
Yeah.
They wanted to recreate that
Because
hilarity.
and kids like getting dirty,
but they
that's the
didn't want to
logic.
put kids in mud.
But the slime, okay, but to be fair, slime on Nickelodeon started with an earlier sketch comedy show they had where anytime you would say, I don't know, then you would get slime. It became the running gag in that show. And then the slime sort of became part of Nickelodeon's signature.
Yeah.
Because more and more Nickelodeon shows featured slime until it became like a really big thing. So the more you know, the more you know. I'm going to find that show. Okay. Anything else before we wrap up?
If it were to have a new incarnation, do you still see it appearing as a Takeshi's Castle show? Or do you see it veering now more towards Crystal Maze in format? Because Takeshi's Castle was really a lot about seeing people fail.
That's true.
That was a huge part of what made that show awesome. And that's the same formula that has been present in stuff like Wipeout, American Gladiators, Beastmaster, and all those other game shows.
Yeah.
So if it still maintained that sort of a feel, as odd as it would sound, that show would then be said, oh, it's like it's copying American Gladiators, but bigger.
Then I think we just have to let Japan go all out, guys, and let them figure it out. I mean, I'm sure they
show us how you do
If
it.
anyone's going to innovate the format and bring a true revival of something like Takeshi's Castle, then I would leave it to Japan to still do it and figure it out.
Me, I think if they were to ever try to do some revival, they'd still have to have the castle. They still have to have the attacking the castle as the final challenge. But I think it's now done as teams. And the teams still go through a lot of these hilarious moments, but whenever they fail a challenge, a member is lost.
Oh my god.
So then it feels a little
That
bit
feels like
close.
the painful part of the pack.
And it has that, okay, your turn, go, Steffi's go, let me go. And then in the end, okay, your team failed. Who's out? So it sort of has Crystal Maze feels, but it's different teams competing to get to the castle.
Maybe. When it's more physical challenges. For those who are wondering about the Nickelodeon show I was referring to, I found it. It's called You Can't Do That on Television.
Yes.
That was the weird sketch show.
Did you see
officially the first that featured slime. It ran from 1979 to 1980,
Whoa.
and then again in 1981 to 1990, which is probably the format that most of us saw.
And then, does it mention their iconic dream slime here?
Yeah, so there's like, it had a whole Every time you said, I don't know, slime would happen.
82.
It was accidentally created for the show.
And it was back in 1982 when they
Yeah.
first did that. That's amazing.
You can't do that on television.
Carla says Takeshi's Castle plus Survivor.
Yeah, but in terms of like not painful fare,
Mhm.
guys, watch the pack on Prime Video.
Mhm. It's still painful emotionally,
Yeah,
only because you love them all.
because it's Amazing Race with dogs.
And
So
the
it
dogs
is
are
a
awesome.
human and a dog as the team.
Mhm.
The dogs before the show were trained to do certain tricks like scent work, pointing, pressing buttons,
Dancing,
dancing, tugging ropes.
and it's just an amazing.
And then
show.
the challenges are all between the human and the dog to do them together. And oh my god, it's a great show.
Mhm.
We finished it this week. We finished it. You can't do that with cats. I'm so sorry. You can't have a cat show like that. It
Oh,
only can be a dog.
I forgot I didn't start the second timer.
No,
But I
it's
guess
okay.
that's all the time we have for this episode. We had a lot of fun. We have no injuries, and we hope you'll join us again next time.
If you have questions or suggestions for future episodes, fill out the Google form at bit.ly Baduy Pride Ideas. Thanks again, Mitch, for not only contributing today's topic, but probably 60% of the queue that is still waiting to be addressed. Thank you for your continued contributions.
We will most likely not have an episode tomorrow, so we will.
Yeah, we have a game tomorrow.
Yeah, so we'll probably see you on Thursday.
Okay. You can follow us on Twitter, all Toby No Shade, RG Sunico.
You can also check out our blog, baduypride.com, for all the previous episodes and stuff about us.
Feel free to continue the conversation in the comments below. How do you remember Takeshi's Castle? What is your favorite challenge to watch? And what is the challenge you actually think you can do? Let us know in the comments. Be sure to subscribe for notifications, whether on Facebook or YouTube, so you don't miss our next live stream. Once again, I'm Rocky.
And I'm Toby.
And this is Baduy Pride. Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks for watching.